She thought she was just helping a wounded creature in the woods. But when a baby Bigfoot showed up at her door days later, holding something buried with her mother, everything changed. What he left behind wasn't just a gift. It was a message from the past. It was the spring of 1991, somewhere deep in the mountains of British Columbia. The snow had melted, but the mornings were still cold, the kind that clings to your jacket even when the sun is out. Claire was 10. She lived with her grandmother in a small wooden cabin just outside the tree line. Her parents were gone car accident 5 years earlier. No one talked about it. Claire didn't talk much either. She just listened, watched, and walked. Most days after school, she'd head into the woods alone. Her grandmother didn't stop her. The forest was the one place Claire felt quiet inside. That Thursday afternoon, she wandered farther than usual. There was no trail, just moss, wet pine needles, and the smell of the earth. She liked it better that way. Then she heard something strange. A low, rough groaning, like someone breathing through broken ribs. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a cougar. It sounded like a person in pain, but deeper. Claire followed the sound down a small ravine and crouched behind a fallen cedar. She saw it. There, wedged between tree roots and covered in mud, was something massive. Hair like wet straw clung to its limbs. Its shoulders rose and fell slowly, unevenly. One leg was twisted underneath it. A deep gash ran down its side. It was a creature she had only heard stories about. But there it was, a female Bigfoot, maybe 10 feet long, maybe more. Still alive, barely. Claire didn't scream. She didn't move. The creature's eyes opened, and they locked on her. Yellow-brown, sunken, tired. They stared at each other. No sound, no movement. Then the wind shifted through the trees, and Claire slowly backed away, not in fear, but confusion. She didn't tell anyone what she saw. But the next day, she went back. Claire didn't tell a soul. Not her teacher. Not the neighbors. Not even her grandmother. But the next afternoon, she went back. Same time, same path, same hollow. The creature was still there. It hadn't moved much, just shifted slightly, its body now more slumped than before. The breathing was slower, labored. Claire stayed behind a downed log about 15 feet away. She said nothing, did nothing, just watched. She did the same thing the next day, and the day after that. Every visit, the same. Claire, crouched and silent, hidden behind the moss-covered log. The creature motionless, except for the slow rise and fall of its chest. Sometimes its eyes were open, sometimes closed. On the 4th visit, the creature turned its head slightly toward her. That was all. No sound, no aggression, just awareness. Claire didn't wave. She didn't try to get closer. She just sat there, quiet, knees to her chest. She wasn't afraid. She didn't understand it, but she knew what she was seeing. Something old, something massive, and something dying. There was a heaviness to the air around the creature. Like the forest itself had gone quiet. No birds, no wind, just breathing. It felt wrong to leave. But she couldn't stay long either. So, each time, Claire would sit for 10 or 15 minutes, then quietly walk home before sunset. Every night, she lay in bed, thinking about those yellow-brown eyes. Not angry, not wild, just tired. She'd seen that look once before on her mother's face in the hospital, the night before the crash. That was the thing she couldn't explain. The look wasn't human, but the feeling behind it was. She started feeling like she wasn't just watching the creature. She was witnessing something that wasn't meant to be seen, something private, a goodbye, and it wasn't hers to interrupt. On her fourth visit, Claire noticed something she hadn't seen before. Behind the mother's massive body, tucked near the tree roots, was movement, subtle, low. She squinted. It wasn't part of the branches. It blinked. A smaller figure, about the size of a child, covered in dark fur, but with a softer shape round face, wide shoulders, long arms. A baby Bigfoot. It didn't make a sound, didn't move, just stared. Two amber eyes, watching her from the shadows. Claire didn't flinch. She stayed still, just as she had all week. The baby watched her, quiet, calm, not scared, like it already knew she wasn't a threat. It didn't move toward her. It didn't hide behind the mother. It simply sat beside her, alert and completely silent. The mother didn't stir. She was still breathing, but it was weaker now, slower. The baby's hand rested near the mother's side. One small motion, two fingers curling gently into her fur. Not pulling, just holding. Claire watched that. She realized something: they were both just kids. One human, one not. But both watching their mothers disappear. She felt a lump in her throat, but didn't cry. The wind rustled the trees above. The baby blinked, but didn't look away. Claire stayed another few minutes, then backed away the way she always did. Slow, careful. She didn't look behind her. That night, she didn't speak during dinner. Her grandmother didn't press. Claire lay awake until long after the house went dark. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed of her mother for the first time in years. In the dream, her mother sat on a blanket in the forest. No words, just a smile. Claire sat beside her. The trees swayed above. The next morning, Claire woke with a heavy chest, and she knew she had to go back. That morning, Claire stepped into the forest and felt it right away. Stillness. No birds. No wind. No sound at all. The air was heavier than usual, like the trees themselves were holding their breath. She followed the same path she had walked for days. Slow, careful steps. No rush. The clearing was quiet. No movement. She saw them right away. The mother Bigfoot was lying flat. No chest rising. No shifting fingers. Just still. The baby sat beside her, legs tucked under its body. It didn't make a sound. It didn't look at Claire. It was staring at its mother's face. Claire froze. This wasn't like the other days. She felt it in her stomach. The cold in the air wasn't from the weather, it was from what was gone. She stayed where she was, about 20 feet back. Didn't move closer. She knew it wasn't her place. The baby leaned its head against the mother's side, just lightly. Its hand rested on her fur. No shaking, no tears. Claire knelt down in the dirt where she stood. Her knees sank into the soft ground. She lowered her head. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The words were all she had. She stayed there a while. Minutes passed, maybe longer. She didn't speak again. Didn't cry. The baby still didn't move. Still didn't look at her. Claire stood. Wiped the dirt from her jeans. She turned around, began to walk home. Her arms stayed stiff at her sides, like she was holding something heavy. Nothing in her hands, but the weight was there. The forest was still silent. When she reached the edge of the trees, she looked back just once. Not to the mother, to the baby. It hadn't moved. Claire turned again and walked home. She didn't go back the next day. A week went by. Claire didn't return to the forest. She stayed quiet at home, helped with chores, ate when told, spoke only when needed. Her grandmother didn't ask questions. Then one morning, something changed. Claire came downstairs and found her grandmother standing by the front door, holding something in her hands. "There was something on the porch," she said. Claire looked closer. It was her old baby blanket, pale pink, soft, faded with time. Tiny stars stitched in the corners. She hadn't seen it in over a year. It had gone missing when she was cleaning out boxes from the attic. She thought it had been thrown out or lost in the trash. But here it was, folded neatly, edges straight, corners lined up just right, not like a child had done it. She took it gently. It smelled faintly of trees and smoke, not like cigarette smoke or a fire, something older, wild, like the inside of the forest after a long rain. Claire didn't say a word. She clutched the blanket against her chest, tight. Her grandmother just watched, then turned back to the kitchen without another word. Claire stood there, frozen in the doorway, the blanket soft in her hands, her breath shallow. She knew exactly where it had come from. Not a person, not someone in town. The baby had followed her trail, not to be seen, not to stay, just to return something. Claire sat down on the porch steps. The wood was cool beneath her. Morning light filtered through the clouds. She looked out across the trees at the edge of the property. Didn't see anything. Didn't expect to. She wrapped the blanket around her shoulders. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. The air was still. Not heavy like before. This stillness felt different. Not sad. Not lonely. Just quiet. Claire sat there a long time, holding the blanket. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Claire waited until the afternoon. The house was quiet. The rain had stopped. She walked into the kitchen, holding the blanket. Her grandmother was at the sink, rinsing vegetables. Claire placed the folded fabric on the table without a word. Her grandmother turned. She looked at the blanket. Her hands stopped moving. A long pause. Then she stepped closer. She touched it gently. Her face changed, her eyes wide. The color drained from her skin. "Claire," she said quietly, "where did you get this?" Claire didn't answer. Her grandmother sat down slowly. "That blanket, it was buried with your mother." The words hung in the air like smoke. Neither of them moved. Claire looked at her grandmother, didn't blink. "I saw it on the porch," she said finally. Her grandmother didn't speak, just stared at the fabric in front of her, then at Claire. Claire didn't offer more. She didn't need to. They sat together in silence. Later that night, Claire wrapped the blanket around herself. It was cool against her arms at first, then warm. She lay on the couch and stared out the window. The forest was dark. The trees were still. Then she saw something just for a moment. A shape near the edge of the trees. Not close, but not far either. It didn't move like a deer or a man. It stood very still, watching. Claire didn't feel afraid. She just watched back. Then, slowly, the figure stepped into the trees and was gone. Claire closed her eyes, pulled the blanket tighter, and drifted to sleep. Claire never tells the full story for years. She keeps it close, like a secret folded in the blanket. She grows up, quiet, steady, becomes a teacher, marries, but each spring she walks back to the woods. She never forgets the tree roots where she once lay hurt. Every year she leaves flowers there, wild ones. She never says why. One day, when Claire is older, a teenage neighbor helps carry groceries inside. He sees the faded pink blanket folded on her couch. Claire watches him stare. So, for the first time in years, she tells someone, just a short version. He listens, then laughs. Bigfoot, ghosts in the woods? Claire shrugs. I don't care what you believe, she says simply. I got my blanket back. He doesn't laugh again. The final shot, Claire, now grey-haired, walking back from the woods. Sunlight filters through the trees. A breeze moves the branches gently. And if you listen closely, something soft seems to echo through the leaves. Like breath. Or memory.